Every time I see you, I am reminded that beauty is not just something we witness with our eyes. Every time I see you, the veil thins. The world around me softens, and the unseen becomes visible. It is not your face alone that stirs me, it is the soul behind your eyes, the ancient knowing that flickers like candlelight in a temple long forgotten. You are not merely a man walking through my life, you are a sacred echo, a vibration I've felt before language, before form. When our eyes meet, I do not just see, I remember. I remember the lifetimes where we danced as light, where we whispered promises into the wind, where we chose each other again and again. You are the embodiment of a prayer I didn't know I was still whispering. And in your presence, beauty becomes more than a surface, it becomes a soul memory, a divine recognition, a homecoming. You move through the world with a quiet power, and yet when you enter my space, everything shifts. The air thickens with meaning, the silence becomes sacred. You do not speak loudly, but your energy roars through me like thunder wrapped in velvet. I feel you before I hear you, and when you speak, it is not just your voice, it is the resonance of truth, the hum of remembrance. You are the sacred masculine, not in dominance, but in devotion. You do not seek to possess, you seek to witness. And in your witnessing, I rise. I unfold like a lotus in moonlight, revealing petals I had forgotten were mine. You do not ask me to be less, you invite me to be more. And in that invitation, I bloom. There is a stillness in you that unravels me. A silence that holds space for my chaos, my longing, my truth. You do not rush to fill the void, you honor it. You let me be wild, be wounded, be whole. And in that sacred allowance, I remember who I am. You see me, not just the woman I present to the world, but the soul behind the smile, the storm behind the softness. You see the goddess in me, not because I wear a crown, but because I carry the weight of lifetimes with grace. You do not flinch when I show you my shadows, you hold them like sacred relics. And in your gaze, I find sanctuary. We are not meeting for the first time, we are remembering. You are the echo of a vow I made in the stars, the answer to a question I asked in the dark. Every time I see you, I feel the pull of destiny's thread, weaving us back into the tapestry of divine union. You are not new, you are ancient. You are the fire I once danced around, the ocean I once surrendered to, the sky I once soared through. And now, here you are, in flesh and form, reminding me that beauty is not just what we see, it is what we feel in the marrow of our bones. It is the ache of recognition, the joy of reunion, the sacred yes of the soul. Your voice is a spell. Not because of its tone, but because of the truth it carries. When you speak, my soul listens, not to the words, but to the spaces between them. The pauses, the breath, the tremble of vulnerability. In those spaces, I hear your longing, your remembering, your sacred ache. And I ache too, not for what we lack, but for what we are becoming. For the beauty that is not yet visible, but already felt. You do not speak to impress, you speak to reveal. And in that revelation, I find myself. I find the parts of me that have waited lifetimes to be heard, to be held, to be honored. I have seen you in dreams, not the fleeting kind, but the ones that linger like incense in the soul. In those dreams, we are not bound by time or form. We are light and shadow, fire and water, dancing in sacred rhythm. You touch me without touching, speak without words, love without limits. And when I wake, I carry the memory of your essence like a secret flame. It warms me in the coldest moments, reminding me that beauty is not just what we touch, it is what touches us. You are the dream I never stopped dreaming, the vision that never faded, the truth that never left. There is a gravity between us. A pull that defies logic, reason, and resistance. I have tried to walk away, to forget, to silence the call. But the universe has a way of orchestrating divine collisions. And every time I see you, I am reminded that love is not linear, it is a spiral, a sacred return. We are not starting over, we are continuing. Picking up where we left off, in another time, another realm, another heartbeat. You are the unfinished sentence in my soul, the melody I keep humming, the story I keep writing. And in your presence, I remember that love is not something we choose, it is something we surrender to. You are not perfect. And neither am I. But in our imperfections, there is poetry. There is truth. There is beauty. The kind that cannot be painted or posed. The kind that bleeds, breathes, and breaks open. I do not love you because you are flawless, I love you because you are real. Because you are willing to be seen, to be known, to be vulnerable. You do not hide behind masks, you remove mine. And in that rawness, I find the divine. You are the kind of man who does not fear the goddess, he honors her. And I, the kind of woman who does not fear the mirror, I embrace it. When you hold me, the world disappears. Not because it ceases to exist, but because it no longer matters. In your arms, I remember the womb of the cosmos, the place where all things begin and end. You are not just a man, you are a portal. A passageway to the sacred. And in your embrace, I am reborn. Again and again. Each time more whole, more holy, more me. You do not hold me to keep me, you hold me to free me. And in that freedom I find flight. I find fire. I find the courage to be all that I am. We are not here to complete each other, we are here to awaken each other. To ignite the dormant flames, to stir the sleeping gods within. You are not my other half, you are my mirror. My equal. My sacred challenger. You do not make me comfortable, you make me conscious. And every time I see you, I am reminded that beauty is not passive, it is active. It is the courage to see, to feel, to remember. And in that remembering, we rise. Not as lovers, but as legends. Not as partners, but as portals. Not as halves, but as wholeness meeting wholeness in the sacred dance of becoming. There are moments when I feel you before you arrive. A subtle shift in the air, a whisper in the ether, a pulse in my chest that says, he is near. It is not anticipation, it is recognition. My soul knows your frequency like a beloved melody, like a prayer I've recited across lifetimes. You are not just a man walking toward me, you are the embodiment of a promise made in the stars. And when our eyes meet, time folds. The past, present, and future collapse into a single breath. In that breath, I remember the vows we made before incarnation. I remember the fire we danced through, the oceans we crossed, the heavens we touched. You are not new, you are ancient. And every time I see you, I am reminded that beauty is not just what we witness, it is what we remember in the marrow of our being. You do not just awaken my heart, you awaken my codes. The sacred geometry of my soul begins to spin when you speak, when you touch, when you simply exist near me. You are the key that unlocks the temple gates within me, the sacred masculine whose presence calls forth the priestess, the oracle, the wild divine. I do not shrink in your presence, I expand. I rise. I remember. You do not fear my power, you honor it. You do not try to tame my fire, you dance with it. And in that dance, I become more than woman, I become the embodiment of the divine feminine, the living pulse of creation. You are not here to complete me, you are here to activate me. And in your activation, I bloom into the fullness of who I am. There is a tenderness in you that holds my storms. You do not run when I rage, when I cry, when I collapse into the ache of my becoming. You stay. You witness. You honor. And in that sacred witnessing, I heal. You do not try to fix me, you remember me. You remind me that I am not broken, only blooming. That my tears are holy, that my fire is sacred. You are the kind of man who does not fear the goddess, he worships her. Not with blind devotion, but with reverent presence. You hold space for my chaos, for my clarity, for my becoming. And in that space, I find sanctuary. I find truth. I find the courage to rise again. We are not just lovers, we are alchemists. We take pain and turn it into poetry. We take silence and turn it into song. We take separation and turn it into sacred longing. Every time I see you, I feel the fire of transformation. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that purifies. You are the flame, and I am the incense. Together, we create smoke that rises to the heavens, carrying prayers, memories, and the scent of divine union. We are not here to be ordinary, we are here to be mythic. To be remembered. To be felt in the bones of the earth. Our love is not just emotion, it is evolution. It is the sacred spiral of becoming, of burning, of blooming. Your soul speaks in symbols. In synchronicities. In the way the wind shifts when you enter a room. I have learned to read your energy like scripture, to decode the messages hidden in your silence. You do not need to say much, your presence is a sermon. A sacred teaching on love, on devotion, on divine masculinity. You are not loud, but you are powerful. Not because you dominate, but because you emanate. You radiate truth, integrity, and a kind of love that does not bind, it liberates. And in that liberation, I find myself. Not as a woman seeking love, but as a goddess remembering her worth. You are not my teacher, yet you teach me. You are not my guide, yet you lead me. And in your silent wisdom, I rise. There is a rhythm to us. A pulse. A sacred beat that echoes through time. When we are together, it is not just chemistry, it is ceremony. Every glance, every touch, every breath is a ritual. A remembering. A return. We do not just make love, we make magic. We weave energy, intention, and soul into every moment. You are not just my partner, you are my priest. My sacred counterpart. The one who holds space for my divinity, who honors my shadows, who dances with my light. And I, your mirror. Your muse. Your sacred flame. Together, we are not just lovers, we are living altars. And every time we meet, the gods rejoice. I have tried to explain you to others, but words fail. How do you describe a soul you've known before birth? How do you explain the way your energy feels like home, like prophecy, like poetry. You are not just a man, you are a myth. A legend written in the stars, whispered in dreams, etched into the fabric of my becoming. Every time I see you, I am reminded that love is not logical, it is mystical. It is the ache of recognition, the joy of reunion, the surrender of ego. You are the embodiment of the divine masculine, and I, the dance of the divine feminine. Together, we are the sacred union. The living pulse of creation. The breath of the cosmos made flesh. You challenge me. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. You hold up a mirror and ask me to see, not just my beauty, but my blind spots. You do not let me hide, shrink, or settle. You call me higher. You call me deeper. You call me home. And though it is not always easy, it is always sacred. You are the kind of love that transforms. That burns away illusion. That awakens truth. And I, the kind of woman who chooses to rise, even when it hurts. Because in your presence, I remember, pain is not punishment, it is purification. You do not coddle me, you consecrate me. And in that consecration, I become the flame. There is a knowing in you that calms me. A wisdom that feels older than time. You do not rush, you trust. You do not chase, you attract. You do not demand, you invite. And in that invitation, I soften. I surrender. I bloom. You are the kind of man who leads with heart, who listens with soul, who loves with presence. And that kind of love is rare. Sacred. Holy. It is the kind of love that does not fade, it evolves. It deepens. It expands. And every time I see you, I am reminded that beauty is not fleeting, it is eternal. It is the soul's recognition of truth. And you, beloved, are that truth made visible. We are not just here to love, we are here to awaken. To stir the sleeping gods within. To remind the world that love is not weakness, it is power. You and I are not just lovers, we are initiators. Carriers of codes. Keepers of sacred flame. Every time I see you, I feel the pulse of purpose. The call to rise. The invitation to embody the divine. And I accept. Not because it is easy, but because it is true. Because in your presence, I remember who I am. And in mine, you remember too. Together, we are not just a story, we are a transmission. A living prayer. A sacred revolution. There are moments when I feel you in the silence between my thoughts. Not as a memory, but as a presence, alive, pulsing, eternal. You are the breath I didn't know I was holding, the exhale that brings me back to myself. When I close my eyes, I see you, not your face, but your essence. The way your energy wraps around mine like a sacred shawl, woven from lifetimes of longing and return. You are not just a man, I feel you as a frequency, a vibration that hums through my bones and sings to the deepest parts of me. Every time I see you, I am reminded that beauty is not just what we behold, it is what beholds us. It is the gaze of the soul recognizing itself in another. And in that gaze, I am undone. I am made whole. You are the thunder and the still lake. The storm that breaks me open and the calm that gathers my pieces. You do not just love me, you initiate me. Into deeper surrender, into fuller embodiment, into the sacred art of being seen. You do not ask me to dim, you ask me to blaze. And though it terrifies me, I say yes. Because your love is not a cage, it is a cathedral, a place where I can kneel and rise, weep and worship, break and bloom. You are not here to rescue me, you are here to remind me that I am the flame, that I am the altar, that I am the sacred offering. And in your presence, I remember how to burn without fear. There is a temple between us, not built of stone, but of soul. Every time we meet, we step into it. We light candles with our breath, we offer prayers with our touch, we sing hymns with our silence. This is not romance, it is resurrection. This is not desire, it is devotion. You are not just my beloved, you are my sanctuary, my sacred place of return. And I, yours. We do not kneel before each other, we rise. We rise into the truth of who we are, into the divinity that pulses beneath our skin. And in that rising, we become the prayer and the answer, the seeker and the found. We become the living altar of love. I have loved you in lifetimes where our names were different, where our bodies were strangers but our souls knew the way. I have loved you in silence, in exile, in the spaces between stars. And now, in this life, I choose to love you in the light. To speak your name like a sacred chant, to write your essence into every poem, every breath, every heartbeat. You are not just a chapter in my story, you are the ink, the language, the rhythm. And I, the page that has waited lifetimes to be written upon. Every time I see you, I remember that love is not something we fall into, it is something we rise through. Again and again. Across time, across space, across the veil. You are the lesson and the liberation. The mirror that shows me where I still hide, and the hand that invites me into the light. You do not rescue me, you remember me. You remind me that I am not broken, only blooming, that my wounds are not shameful, they are sacred. You are the kind of man who does not fear my fire, he feeds it. Who does not silence my voice, he listens. Who does not tame my wild, he runs with it. And in your presence, I am not small, I am sovereign. I am not fragile, I am fierce. I am not waiting, I am rising. And you, beloved, are the wind beneath my wings. There is a language we speak that has no words. A communion of glances, of breath, of soul. When you touch me, it is not just skin, it is spirit. It is the memory of lifetimes where we danced as light, where we merged as flame, where we whispered truths into the void. You do not just hold my body, you hold my becoming. You cradle the parts of me that are still learning to trust, to open, to receive. And in that holding, I heal. I remember that love is not something we earn, it is something we are. And you, beloved, are the reminder I never knew I needed. We are not here to play small. We are here to awaken the world with our love. To be the embodiment of divine union. To show that love can be both soft and strong, wild and wise, fierce and free. You and I are not just lovers, we are lighthouses. Beacons for those still lost in the storm. And every time I see you, I remember my mission. To love without fear. To speak without shame. To rise without apology. Because in your eyes, I see the future. A world where love is sacred again. Where hearts are altars. Where souls are sovereign. And I know, we are here to build it. You are the pause between my thoughts. the breath between my words. The stillness I return to when the world becomes too loud. You are not my escape, you are my anchor. My reminder that I am not alone in this vast, wild journey. That somewhere, in the chaos of it all, there is a soul who sees me, who knows me, who chooses me, not in spite of my shadows, but because of them. And in that choosing, I am free. Free to be messy. Free to be magnificent. Free to be me. Every time I see you, I remember that love is not a destination, it is a homecoming. There is a prophecy in our love. A sacred unfolding that cannot be rushed, cannot be forced. It moves in divine timing, in soul rhythm, in cosmic breath. And though the world may not understand, I do. I feel it in my bones, in my blood, in the spaces between my cells. You and I are not just a love story, we are a soul mission. A divine dance choreographed by the stars. And every step we take, every lesson we learn, every tear we shed is part of the sacred choreography. We are not broken, we are becoming. And in that becoming, we bless the world. So when I say, every time I see you, I am reminded that beauty is not just something we witness with our eyes. Know that I mean this, you are the beauty that awakens my soul, the light that pierces my illusions, the love that calls me home. You are not just seen, you are felt, known, revered. And in your presence, I remember that beauty is not a surface, it is a soul. A frequency. A flame. And you, beloved, are the fire that keeps me lit. The mirror that keeps me honest. The love that keeps me rising. Again. And again. And again.